Welcome, welcome, welcome. I believe it is 10 a.m. So it is 10 a.m. East African time. It is a fantastic, beautiful morning here in Nairobi, Kenya. Welcome, everyone. If it is your first time joining us here, karibu sana. If it's not, thank you so much for coming back. It's an honor to have you back. So I'll just like to start by introducing Centonomy and what we do. So Centonomy is how to create wealth. And we do this through a couple of programs that teaches people how to manage the personal financial management. We have the Centonomy Entrepreneur that helps you build a great business. And then we have the Centonomy Career Hub program, which helps you to reposition and repackage yourself for career growth. So today's session is brought to you by the Centonomy Career Hub, which I'll be able to, as we come to the end of this session. So first and foremost, I'd like us to have the hashtags for the day. So today's hashtags are Centonomy Career Hub, Centonomy Career and Mental Health, and the Centonomy Career Growth. Those are the hashtags for today. And also kindly note, we are live on all our platforms. So that is on LinkedIn. That is on LinkedIn, that's YouTube, Twitter. Yes, we are live on all those platforms. So kindly let me know where you're joining us from. And also, what are your expectations of the day? Use the chat box. You can use the chat box to just kindly let me know where your expectations for today from our amazing speakers. Rather the committee will get the same me. Yes, what are your expectations for this lovely, lovely, lovely morning? Use the chat box to go. You can even let me know how you're feeling. Good morning is also a comment. As we start the session. Great. So I am seeing a comment here from Lawrence. I am Lawrence Gishuhi from Kiambu. I like to grow my career from the speakers. Okay. Karu says, I am from Nairobi. My expectation is to know how exactly choice affect my mental health. Great, Karu. I believe the speakers will be able to just communicate the same. Gloria says, joining from Tika, glad to be here. Karibu sana, Gloria. Isabella says, good morning from South Lebanon. Good morning, Isabella. Karibu sana to the session. Great. Oh, a few more comments coming in. From Maina saying, calling all the way from Bugoma, expecting on how to advance my career based on the current challenges we're facing, especially with COVID. Mark Paul says, good morning from Thika. Good morning, Mark Paul. Good morning, Maina, Isabella. Asanteni sana for joining us this lovely morning. I know it's a little bit cold here in Nairobi, but I believe the session will be worthwhile. Lillian says, how to stay healthy mentally, even post-COVID. Great. So I believe it is 5 minutes past 10, so we can actually start the session with our first speaker of the day. So our first speaker of the day is a very, very, very good friend of Centonomy. She's a certified mental and emotional. She holds a postgraduate certificate in neuroscience and mental health from King's College London. She is passionate about bringing awareness to and helping individuals and groups understand how to manage stress, anxiety, depression, and addiction. So Mwendwa, if you're here, I'd like for you to kindly start your video. Hi, Mwende, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Morning.
How are you doing? Morning. It's so nice to be here.
Well, Mwende, karibu sana.
Such a perfect
Toast, you really hyped it up, Paka. Even I'm excited. I'm like, you made it sound like, I'm like, are we in the same room? Because the weather here is a bit gloomy, but when he's talking like, it's a nice sunny day, I'm like,
yes, that's how you want to have. This is the atmosphere we expect.
That's the spirit. Fine. I'm with you. I'm going with it. Thanks so much. Centonomy, as usual, for having me here. As you said, I'm a friend of Centonomy. It's so nice. It just feels like, being at home. Thank you so much. Thanks to everybody who's kind of in the room right now for this conversation, who's logged on the different sites that we're streaming the conversation from. And yeah, it's been good hearing some of the questions that have come up. Especially where it regards mental health, and especially right now during COVID, post-COVID, I think that's been one of the bigger conversations that everyone's been having. What I have chosen to do is just to prepare a short presentation for us all to kind of go through. I think I have about 15 minutes there about to go through the presentation. So I'll also make sure I don't speak too fast. But Wendy, also please make sure you ping me, do a bit of a time check in case I start going over.
Sure.
But yeah, as Wendy has also said, I think she's introduced me perfectly. I'm a mental and emotional wellness coach. I am passionate about all things mental and emotional wellness, especially right now. More and more, we're really able to link just how our emotions and our mental health is affected or does affect, all aspects of our lives, our family relationships, our work output, our creativity, even as it comes to work, because I think this conversation about career is really about our creativity and not just work on its own. Those really are two very different things. So let me just get into my presentation. Please post any questions that you would like me to answer, either after the presentation or anytime during the conversation, and I'll be happy to do it. Let me just get my screen up and hope I can do it as gracefully as possible. Great. So can you see the presentation?
Yes, I can. If you can kindly put it on slideshow, perfect.
Great.
Awesome.
So yeah, as I mentioned, for me, today's conversation, as we're all here to kind of talk about our career and mental health. And so for me, it was kind of figuring out how can we start the conversation to connect our career, work, and mental health and our emotional wellness as well, right? So career and calling. This was so interesting. As I was preparing this presentation, I was very cognizant of the fact that a career and a job, you always hear it kind of everywhere. They're two very different things. A job is, I think, a place that a lot of us either are or have been in that is a means to an end in terms of making an income, ensuring that you have a livelihood, ensuring that you have, food on your table and you're able to take care of financial responsibilities that you have, but you may not necessarily be very passionate about. I think career is kind of that longer goal. It's almost like a calling. When I went and did a search for, what is really a career, the definition that I found really connected for me with what we want to talk about here, and especially Centonomy and the group of people I know who connect with Centonomy, is that a career is the profession that one trains for and undertakes as a calling. So you really spend your whole life training and working at and towards a career. So what is it that goes into a career? And as I bring all of these aspects up that I've pointed out here, remember that all of them, in each of these, there's an element of your mind and your emotions that's going into everything that goes into your career already. So it's not about at that point when, you get the job that you've been working your whole life or you had dreamed about when you were a child, but there's everything that goes into it. So there's first the preparation. Imagine finally coming to that place, when you're maybe in your late teens or your early 20s, at the point where we were all, finishing high school, starting university. That's the preparation part. If you wanted to go into one of the more, very technically demanding careers, kind of like being a lawyer, a pilot, there is preparation into that. You have to do the right, choose which university to go into, and that's all of the preparation that's taking you mentally right into this place where you're like, this is the career that I want to pursue. And even if it's been in the arts, even if you're a creative person, there's a lot of preparation that goes into that as well. unhappy to envision. I mean, if you're an artist, if you're a singer, if you're, I mean, like a literal painting, drawing artist, what is it that you had to do? Did you have to take certain classes? Did you have to take certain courses? Was it extracurricular activities that are not given in our traditional syllabuses? So there's all of this work that's kind of gone into it. And of course, with preparation comes expectations, right? So we have an idea of what we will look like in this. When I'm this pilot, I can envision myself, walking down the runway, as we saw them in the movies. Here's the very nice uniform and the hat and everything, or being a doctor, or being a lawyer, or being an artist, or being a musician. And we have an expectation of what is it going to say about me. It's something that is very inherent in us as human beings, that it has a reflection of who you are in society. So there's no way to separate your own expectations of how people will view you from the preparation into the career and the calling that you're going into. Once we've gone through the preparation and expectations, of course, then there's the reality. So here you are, your qualifications that you need, or you've done all the preparation work, you've done all the internships, and now you're working maybe in your first job, right, straight out of school, or even your second job, because there are very few people I know, and it's not that it doesn't happen, but then there are, of course, those really lucky people who right out of school or right at the beginning of their career started working in their dream company and found it was everything that they wanted it to be, and have just found their home there and literally work there until they retire. But for a lot of us, what you actually find is what your expectations were and what your reality was when you got there are completely different things. Remember, your expectations and preparation were based on your own imagination almost. It was based on your own desires as well. So what you actually find when you're there is like, okay, fine. Actually, this is what this entails in a work setting. The theory of school and all of the preparation I did and how I actually have to impart my talent, my knowledge, my uniqueness, my wisdom, my intelligence, and into this career in this space, right, is absolutely different. So how do you then start shifting from your preparation and expectations into the reality that it is? Do you find that it's a lot more cutthroat than you thought it would be? Do you then find maybe the setting is a lot more laissez-faire than you wanted? Do you find that maybe the dynamics are very different? There are more people competing in this sphere than you thought there would be? Do you find that maybe you thought you would be doing A, but then you're actually doing A plus B in the office, right? Or in whatever kind of work setting you're in. And then how do you adapt to that reality? How are we able to adjust, right, to what it is that we find based on, what is there versus what our expectations were? And keeping in mind, of course, their aspirations. So you start your career, and this is what I thought it would be. This is what I'm finding it actually is. How do I then start adjusting? Because remember, as human beings, we change. And that's the thing that's constant about us. We always change. Our desires change, our demands change, our lives change, everything that we experience change. And so we also change and our desires change, that including our aspirations. So maybe the goals that I had when I started this career 5 years ago are not the goals that I now have. Like somebody will talk to me and they'll be like, oh wait, but I thought you had said, you wanted to, get to the point where, you're the head of this department, but now I can hear you saying you want to kind of take on a more of a teaching role. So what is it that has changed? It's just us, and it's your reality, and it's how you've adapted to that reality. So aspirations and adaptation, of course, come hand in hand for all of us. How do you adapt your own expectations and your reality in a way that you're still aspirational, so that it doesn't like, I can't, I'm done, what I thought was my career or my calling or my passion, I can't put any more energy into this, I can't put any more life into this. And which, of course, we don't want to get to, because I think a calling is such a personal and inherent and beautiful thing that needs to be encouraged for all of us more and more. And I think certainly, as I said on the chats, I've heard people talking about COVID and what it's done for us. I feel like it's really pushed a lot of us to kind of tap into that. Okay, now we're getting out of that place of this was the job I used to go to. This is the place that I had to go, like, this is what I'm doing. But then we're being forced to now really address what is it that I'd always thought I was passionate about? Some of the more popular ones that I've been hearing, of course, very recently is, people who are taking on languages. There are people who start baking, someone who you knew in the office, and for whatever reason, maybe work hasn't worked out, or right now they're kind of working from home, have a lot more time, or, they're kind of on half pay and half duty, and somebody is suddenly, selling cupcakes or something on the side, and all of these exciting things. And that's just really about adaptation. And as human beings, again, we're always able to do it. It's about finding that space and figuring out how you can adapt to what's going on around you, which I'll kind of mention towards the end of my presentation. So work and emotions. So I wanted to kind of differentiate, and if you saw, like, my first slide was about career. So it's really about calling. But where is this calling? Where is it realized, for lack of a better word? It's in a work setting, right? It's in an office. So it might be a calling, and even if it's your own home office, even if you're your own career, you're your own boss, you have your little bakery, you're doing your little cooking, it's your space. It's you who's decided it. It's you who's having to work it, but it needs some kind of structure, right? So whether you're really, as I said, more of the traditional professionals, or if you're an artist in some way or the other, there is a professional setting in which you have to work. Now, how do these things kind of mix in together? And I think this is where really we start seeing our mental and emotional well around in this setting. So first of all, there's stress. I think as the first item on my slide is because I think it's just important. I really wanted everybody to just understand that stress isn't always a bad thing, right? Really, by our biological definition, stress is actually a system that our bodies use, that have always been used, right? We call it the fight or flight reaction, right? And it can be positive. So in that sense, stress has been created to kind of protect us, right? It's very much like fear. So when you find stress occurring, you're either in a situation where you have to adapt something, you have to change something, or in the very traditional sense, it's your mind that perceives something, right? Whether it's danger coming towards you, whether it's something that needs for you to be addressed, and then releases the hormone called cortisol that then gives you the adrenaline to either run, as I said, the fight or flight syndrome, right? And in that way, it's positive. If you find yourself in a situation, whether it's at work and it's like, okay, everybody, so-and-so has come for this meeting half an hour earlier than we had planned, or this big pitch that we wanted has finally come through, and you find yourself like, oh my goodness, we really wanted this, but then, okay, we're a bit stressed about it, but then it gives you that adrenaline that you need to create your presentations, to make your presentations to the client, to make your pitches, and then it's great and you leave it there. Now, where stress becomes problematic, and I think is the definition in which we all use it, is when it becomes acute or prolonged. The different type of cultures are going to places. It's okay for you to wear sneakers here. It's not okay here. It's okay for you to, speak in front of your bosses in certain places. In other places, it's not. So different work settings have different cultures that then require us to use our emotional intelligence, to cope. We have to make changes that maybe you're not a morning person. Maybe if they let you, you'd come into work at 1 and work until 1 in the morning and be super productive. But of course, this is the culture of this office. And office dynamics as well. So the dynamics, I had initially wrote that point as office relationships and changed it to dynamics. But relationships is really what I'm talking about, because those are some of the nuanced things that also make or break work settings for a lot of us. What is your relationship with the person you're sharing up, right? What is your relationship? And keeping in mind that I've always, and I still, I think that's of course now changed because we're all working from home, but previously, the office is the place where we were spending most of our time. In fact, we would spend more time in our office or our work setting than at home, right? As in, home was a place by the time you were done with Nairobi traffic, and some of us maybe are still doing it, you may be spending 3 hours at home, but you've been in the office for 8 hours. Spending time with people, having to share the kitchen, having to share the microwave, figuring out who's in the boardroom, who's taking the minutes in this meeting, who's organizing people's schedules. And that's really where the true, personality of people come out. And that's also where a lot of the clashes come. Because remember what we talked about in the first slide. Everybody's coming in with their different expectations. Everybody's coming in with their different aspirations. Everybody's coming in with different levels of adaptability. And then reality for everybody is, maybe not what they expected. Maybe for some, it's absolutely perfect. And maybe some are just able to adapt and be like, okay, it is what it is. And, they're able to move on. So depending on how you're able to manage those, and of course your stress, then you're able to see how your emotions and your mind are affected in a work setting and how you're able to cope. And then lastly is, of course, the work-life balance. This is, again, something I think that we had all been kind of struggling with prior to COVID, and maybe we even started struggling with it more, especially if you have children, if you have families, and you're trying to balance how to homeschool people, or even you're working from home and you're alone and you kind of don't like the isolation. The office is a place for you to kind of socialize with people. You had friends there. And getting that balance right, where you're like, I feel like my career requires me to put in, as I said, 12 hours in a day. But where does that leave for you to do maybe your exercise, your own cooking, to follow your own hobbies, to follow your own interests, to have out of office relationships with friends, with family members, to maybe travel, take drives, and just de-stress and decompress and have a clear distinction between your home life and your work life, right? And these are boundaries that, of course, we've been having to learn, and it has been very hard, as I said, especially during this time. So how do you kind of manage that? It's always about having a schedule and sticking to it. And especially if you're disciplined enough that you work for yourself, and even if you're not, it's about having to learn these skills, right? So that you're like, between 8 and 9, this is what I'm going to be doing. Between 9 and 10, this is what I'm going to be doing. Between 10 and 10:30, I have a short break, right? And just get up, get some fresh air, and the same thing maybe at around lunchtime, and just learn how to take those pockets of time for yourself, even in the course of a day, so that you have time for yourself that doesn't include even, family time or anything like that. These are kind of the things that help us manage better our stress, refresh ourselves in a setting where we're working, refresh ourselves, just even as individuals, as human beings, right? And so these are some of the coping strategies that I've kind of put together towards, like, this is actually my last slide. So these are some of the things that I thought that really work very well for us, that we could all kind of try when we're thinking about either stress and managing, whether it's in a work setting or even in terms of our career. So if you're struggling with this question of your calling, is it that I know what I want to do, or I've always known what I want to do, but it's not panning out the way I thought it would, or it just needs some tweaking here, it needs some adaptation, it needs some, kind of reality check? The first thing to do is just to focus. And when I say focus, I mean focus on what is in your control. I think a lot of the times, the reason why work, career, and anything to do with our profession stresses us more than it needs to is because we now start moving out of our own sphere of control and letting things that we are not able to change take our energy. So what do I mean by that? For example, if like now I've been invited, a very simple example is I've been invited by Wendy from Centonomy, please come, we're having this event, we'd like you to speak. And my job description for today's event was very simple. This is what we'd like you to speak about. This is your area of expertise, and it's as simple as that. Now, where I would have started getting things wrong is if the whole week I'm calling Wendy and I'm like, oh, okay, what platform are we using? Okay, who is the IT person who's going to be streaming this? Why are we streaming on LinkedIn and all that? Why are we doing that? I mean, that's now just taking my energy and putting myself into things that have nothing to do with me and are completely outside of my control. Everybody has their own role. Everybody has their own space. And so just focus what is within your control. What can I do? Can I improve myself? Can I seek for help from other areas? Can I change maybe? Am I very sure it's my calling? But just focus inwardly on what you can change and control. Acknowledging our thoughts, our feelings, and emotions are so, so important. That to me is one of the most important and simple coping skills you can use when you're in a work setting. So I personally am not a believer in, well, if you just ignore it and keep kazaying, just hang in there and just keep being tough and, keep going to the office and it'll get better. I think, listen, if I'm in an environment that I'm struggling in, I can't work in for whatever reason, or if there's aspects of it that are really good and I'm really enjoying it, acknowledge them, right? Acknowledge the good, acknowledge the bad, acknowledge the thoughts that you have that come with it, the feelings that come with it, and just be very open within yourself in the way you know how to do it, so that, you know, you're able to then keep moving with the seasons, that when this is past, that will be gone, and then you can go on to the next thing. Journaling and keeping records, I think, is now a very good way of coping with your career and any changes that might be coming over time. So, as I said, maybe what was true for a lot of people, for example, at the beginning of the year, is not what's true for them now. What we thought we would be doing this year, I mean, I have a lot of friends who thought they were going to be doing masters. There's a friend of mine who had been, you know, applying for an MBA for almost 2 years, and has now come to this place where a program has been turned into an online degree, which is not what you had signed up for. Maybe this is the year you thought you were going to be promoted. Maybe this is the year you thought you were going to start your business, and then you've kind of been pushed into doing it faster than you thought you would. So kind of just write these things down, or keep a record in whichever way. Maybe you're not very good at writing, keep a video journal, keep voice recordings, and just keep a mark of what it is that you're doing and changing and learning and, you know, adapting as you go along, because those are the things that will help you, especially in your career, and also to keep you kind of grounded and sane as you're doing it, so that you're not constantly like, you know, up, down, today it's this, tomorrow it's that, because then we can also get very distracted, especially when it comes to something you're passionate about, but don't have a very clear guidance on which way you want to go. And the final one for me is always to engage. The chances are very, very high that whatever your passion is, whatever your calling is, whichever career you want to go into, there's somebody who has been there before you, is there with you, is kind of somewhere on the journey, or has been on some parallel kind of journey. Look for mentors, reach out to people in the field in which you operate. Look for people who can kind of even just give you mentorship, even though they're not from that profession, but who have been successful in their own professions. Upgrade courses. What courses do you need to refresh yourself based on the reality that you found and the new aspirations that you have that, you know, may not be your traditional kind of degree, but you can add to kind of tweak to your skills and to your capabilities that will continue to build on your career and give you the confidence and, you know, just to continue keeping that passion alive and to increase your knowledge and intelligence in your field. So I don't know how long I've been. I'm going to stop there because I think I need to leave a section for questions and answers. Thank you so much for listening. And those are my Twitter and my Instagram handles. Thank you so much, Wendy. Thank you so much.
Amazing insights there, Wendy. So for me, the thing that has really stuck with me is stress is not a bad thing. You know, most of the time you'll be like, I'm so stressed, so it means it's something bad. But stress generally is not a bad thing. Also, the coping strategies. One, you focus, you acknowledge, you journal, you engage. Amazing. So I'll just like to find out if there are questions. So feel free to put your questions, your clarifications, your suggestions on the chat box, and then I'll be able to read them to Mwende. Also, as I mentioned, we are live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. So the people who are tuned in there, kindly, you can post your comments there, your questions there, and I'll be able to just mention the same to Mwende. So guys, any questions? Millie Omolo says, please reshare your contacts.
Perfect. Everyone.
So as Mwende shares her contacts, feel free to put your questions, your suggestions, your clarifications on the chat box, and I'll be able to communicate the same to her. But that was an amazing session, Wendy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Wendy. And of course, I should mention, for me, I'm quite happy to share the presentation. If anybody, you know, gets in touch directly, I think with the Centonomy Career Hub, they'll be able to get this presentation. Or, of course, you know, direct message me for any questions or clarifications you might have.
Great. So I'm seeing there's a question here from Purity. She's asking, how do you embody coping strategies in a toxic work environment? And then great insights. Take home stress is a good thing. That's from Isabella. Maureen Abondo says tips on improving a toxic work environment. Audrey asks, or rather says, thanks, Mwende. Aside from only addressing what we can change, is there a way we can begin changing our organizations? So those are 3 questions. That's why I think maybe you can start with the first one. How do you embody coping strategies in a toxic work environment?
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good question because, you know, I won't, of course, I can't get into too much of the details about what is toxic about the work environment that you're in. But I think one of the things that I've also been very, very passionate about is working with human resources in different organizations. And now I think we're kind of learning that HR is taking on more of that human role. Like they're kind of understanding more and more that people's mental and emotional wellness needs to be taken into consideration. So the first thing, of course, I would ask is, do you in any way have, you know, these kind of anonymous feedback boxes, right, in your office? Because that would be a good place for you to start making suggestions to the organization, where you won't be targeted, you know, for sharing and making suggestions on things that you need, right? And as well as, so I think I'm answering both Maureen and Purity at the same time, right? I think it's about how do you improve the toxic work environment. In that one, it's kind of just about sharing, finding like-minded people who need this kind of support, starting to, you know, kind of request it from the organization, and, you know, kind of making it, I don't say a movement. I don't want to incite people like suddenly you go to the office and you're like, we want our rights, yeah? But kind of just, you know, feel around, find out how many other people here kind of need this outlet, need this kind of conversation. Find ways to start filtering it into your management that, look, we kind of need these days. We need some kind of mental health person to come and speak to us, to come and, you know, help us, to come and, you know, just kind of filtering that in. The coping strategies in a toxic work environment. So for me, those breaks then would be the most important thing, Purity, to get through the day. Like when you're in that space during a whole day, the best thing for you to do is always remove yourself every now and again when you can, right? So every 2 or 3 hours, if it's just going offline, stepping away from your desk, okay, I'm going to take a walk. First of all, I just need to get out of the physical space. Now maybe we're in online spaces, and that might be a lot harder because I know in some organizations, people's Zoom meetings have been set up so that like you literally can't even eat lunch, right? You're back to back to back to back. And then now what I would then suggest is find that space for yourself in the evening. When you're not in an office or a work setting, right? Are you able to do some meditation in the evening? Again, are you able to take these walks in the evening? Get out of your space, just let your mind completely detach from what it is, you know, you've gone through during the day. And again, very much like Maureen, start trying to find ways where you can give your feedback to management, start finding ways to be the change that you may need to see in this organization. And of course, I wouldn't dare say to anybody, leave this environment if it becomes too bad. But certainly, if you reach those levels where your stress is acute, it's prolonged, your health is starting to suffer, you know, there are decisions that you kind of have to make to take care of yourself, because in the long run, some of these things have such debilitating effects on our health. You won't be able to function normally anyway. So I think that's what I'll say just briefly, so I can still take on some of the other questions.
Okay. There's another question here from, no, I think this is a comment. That's from last edited Kasuku. I suggest more and more wellness-focused mental health in the workplace, for sure, definitely. And then Lilian Kamau asked, does creativity in employment mean one is passionate with what they're employed to do?
Oh yeah, certainly, and also let's remember there are people who, even if it's a job that you're doing and it's not your career and your calling, there are a lot of people who are also just efficient in that way. That if you give me an assignment, whether it's what I believe I'm going to do I'm going to still do it to the best of my ability. It's just that simple. There's some people who are just geared like that, and there's some others who are just like, I can't get motivated unless it's something I love with all of my heart. Then in which case, you really need to start, finding that thing that gives you that drive. Because, I mean, I know some people who are just like, I can't get out of bed. Like, I know I have this job to go to, but because it doesn't move me that way, I can't get out. And there's some who are just like, me, I'm a performer, I'm a deliverer. This is not what I want to do the rest of my life, but for as long as I'm here, I'm going to give it the best of myself. So everybody is different, and it's just figuring out where you are and being okay with it. Yeah.
Great. So we'll just take one more question. That's from Audrey. She says, thanks, Mwende. Aside from only addressing what we can change, is there a way we can begin changing our organizations, or do we jump out and wait for the plane to crash and burn?
No, I'm certain. As I said, I think I mentioned it to Purity and to Maureen before.
Yeah.
I believe that, and especially now, there's a change that's happening around the world. So if there's ever a time for all of us to kind of jump in, take that chance. As I said, I'm a believer in anonymous feedback. I'm not trying to get you fired. That you go to work and you have all of these banners. Find ways.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a manager here or there, because even sometimes I think sometimes when we're in organizations and in workplaces, management almost become an entity that is us versus them, and we forget that these are people as well. They're people who are probably in this conversation as well, thinking, how can I cope? Yeah, how can I do better? They're individuals just like us. It's just that the pressures that they're experiencing, of course, and the demands on what they should deliver are very different from us, right? There's a lot more responsibility on them. As the saying goes, heavy is the head that wears the crown. So maybe for them it does look very different. But you'd be surprised that a lot of them are very open to getting this feedback that, look, I'll be able to deliver better for you. If you're stressed about what you should be, what you're supposed to deliver, I can do 100 times more if you give me A, B, C, D. Yeah. And you'll be surprised that you'll learn for them, because it's a win-win for everybody. Like, if you give me more of this, then I'll give you more of what you need to look good. And you kind of start battering that way. So I certainly think there's a place for trying to have that conversation. And yeah, all the best. I hope that works out.
Yes. So just much appreciation here on the chat box. We have a couple of more questions, but Mwende, I'll kindly ask you if it's just possible for you to just answer them on the chat box as well on our Facebook page because of time, and then we'll truly appreciate it. But thank you so much as always. That has been amazing insights there. Thank you so much, Mwende.
Thank you.
So for our second speaker of the day, that is Dr.Adeola Adeyemi. So she is a mental health advocate and mental fitness coach with over 6 years of experience with helping her clients to achieve an holistic well-being. She's the founder of Talk Mental Health, a profit organization focused on creating awareness on mental health, promoting wellness, demystifying myths, normalizing discussions about mental health, and providing consultation and therapy services. So Dr. Adeola, I believe you are here in the session. If you can kindly unmute yourself and also start your video. Yes, great. Welcome. Karibu sana to the session. The platform is yours.
Hello.
Yes, can go ahead. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Hello.
Hello, Dr. Adeola. How are you this morning?
I'm good. Hello, everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me. It's so good to meet you guys. So I'm Adeola Adeyemi. I'm from Lagos, Nigeria. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can.
All right, fantastic. So do you want me to just start off,
Yes. You can begin screen sharing your presentation.
All right. Okay. So can you all see my screen?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. How are you doing? I'm Adeola Adeyemi. I'm from Lagos, Nigeria, and mental health is what I'm passionate about. It's what I breathe, it's what I live, it's what I speak about, and that's because even me, I can tell them, just tell you a story. I know I have 20 minutes, but personally, so I have 20 minutes, I know, and I'll try to keep to time. personally, mental health has really helped me. I mean, being aware of my mental health has helped me as a person. And of course, with my years of experience, I've realized that without mental health, you cannot really survive life. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. Without mental health, you can't survive in life. You cannot survive in your family life, in your personal life. Let's start with you as a person, in your career, which is what we're going to talk about today, in your relationship with people. Without mental health, without a stable mental health, there's no way that you would be successful in life. That is just my opening statement. I want you to understand that, and I hope everyone here is taking notes, really, because it's very important. And there's this mantra that we keep saying, that there's no health without mental health. So I know that we are used to our physical health. We understand how we feel when we have problems with our physical body. But when it comes to mental health, we just beginning to understand how important it is. So, but I want you to understand, even when you want to define what health is, in terms of what the World Health Organization has said what health is, it is a complete state of physical, mental, and social well-being, not just mere absence of disease. So that you don't have a disease doesn't mean that you're stable. That you don't have a disease, particularly, it doesn't mean that you're stable. So you have to be completely physically okay. You have to be mentally okay and socially okay. And when it comes to being socially okay, it means that you have to form a good relationship with people, right? And when it comes to your career, there's no way you can have a sustainable career without relating with people. You have to know how to relate. It's not about, oh, I am an introvert and I don't like talking. I am this, I am that. I don't like you. It is not about that. You just have to use what you have to get what you want to have, You just have to use it to achieve what you want to achieve in life, really. So whether you're an introvert, you're an extrovert, whatever personality traits you possess, that is your God-given ability, what God has given to you to be productive and be successful in life. So let me just start with that. And this I've applied to my own personal life, and I've seen it in a lot of clients that I've worked with over the years. And I realized that it is very, very productive and very effective. So today we're going to be talking about tips that would help you improve your career in terms of your mental health tips that you need that would help you improve your career. I mean, your level of productivity, level of effectiveness, whatever it is, no matter what the challenge you face, the challenges you face at work, no matter what the challenges you face, whether you're doing your business. I know I'm speaking to a lot of professionals here. You might be an entrepreneur, you might be a career person, no matter what it is, even you can apply those principles to your own personal life. It is going to work for you as long as you are ready to implement these tips in your everyday life. All right? Okay, so yes, these are the things. Pardon me, I might not just follow this out. I mean the what's it called? The slides, because if I want to follow, it's going to slow me down and it's going to make me talk a lot. So I'm just going to say a lot from my mind. From my head. So yeah, this is mental health. Mental health. Mental is all about what do I say? There's some 4 important things when it comes to your mental health. Number 1 is you are able, when you are mentally stable, you're someone that understands yourself. You understand your potential. Before you can start a career, it must be something you're passionate about. So number 1, I have an issue. You just didn't go to study like myself. Maybe I didn't study medicine because my parents wanted me to study it. It's probably because I am passionate about. Of course, they pushed me at that time. Every parent wanted their children to either become a doctor, a lawyer, or something professional. Then fine. Yeah. But my path and my career path as a mental health specialist, as a psychiatrist, was not chosen by anyone. It was what I wanted. It was what I desired. Okay, fine. I found myself doing medicine. Okay, but now that I want to now narrow it down to what I love, I don't care what any other people may think about it. but it is what I want to do. So you understanding yourself, number one thing about mental health, you need to understand your potential, what drives you, your passion. You need to know that. Then you need to be able to cope with normal stresses of life. Stress at work, stress at home, stress in the community, in your society. You need to be able to cope with it. Number three is you need to be able to work fruitfully and productively. You need to be able to, no matter what the challenges are, no matter how toxic the environment is, you are considered mentally stable if you're able to work, navigate through the stressful situation, through the conditions, and work fruitfully and productively. And the fourth thing is that you're able to contribute to your community. Contribute meaningfully to your community, help people around you. I'm not talking about giving them money now. I'm showing that being kind, showing empathy, being there for people, helping others. And all those four criteria is what makes up mental health and what defines who a person that is mentally stable is. All right. So in this particular slide, I'm saying a good mental health is beyond the absence of mental illness. So you don't have depression, you don't have schizophrenia, you don't have all that. It does not mean that you're mentally stable. So like I said, there's a continuum from mental health to mental illness. It's a very long rope. Let's imagine like 100 yards. So from number one is mental health, like 100% fine. Number 100 or the last point is mental illness. So we all move from one point to another in our everyday life, from every time, at any point in our lives, depending on the challenges we face. So you might be on number 5 today and then move to 10 based on your challenges, but the fact that you are not on number 100, which is the mental illness aspect, does not mean that you are stable. So meaning that you need tips, you need guides, you need practices, you need a lot of things that you have to keep doing every day, especially in the area of your career, to ensure that you're mentally stable, you personally, and then whatever it is you have, you're able to give the same to people around you so that you can be productive at work. All right? So I understand that we need to know one thing, that no one is immune to mental illness. As leaders, as professionals, as workers, whether of course, we always have bosses, we have superiors, you have subordinates in your work environment. You need to understand that you are not immune to it. 1 in 5 people will experience mental illness. This is why you need to be conscious and deliberate about the things you allow into your mind, the things you allow to affect you, and how you react to all of these things. Do you understand? Okay, so let's move on. I need to make you understand this, that at work, your mental health can affect your work, and the relationship between work and mental health is bi-directional, meaning that if you have a mental illness, let's say a person has a mental illness, then it can affect the level of productivity of such a person at work. You understand? A person that is mentally unstable, probably on medications or needs therapy, would always have issues, might sleep too much, might be paranoid, might pick on, take criticism to the extreme, might take things personally just because of their mental state. So that means the person has mental illness and it is affecting their level of productivity at work. There might be increased level of absenteeism. The work they do might not be so productive. They might not be able to concentrate at work, sleep issues and all. However, on the other hand, work itself, the stress that work gives you, the fact that you're working and you're very stressed might affect your mental health. So you don't have mental illness, you don't have depression, no anxiety disorders, no problems at all. You just start working. So you need to know what to do to ensure that this work you're doing right now, your career, the fact that you are going to work every day, whatever it is they ask you to do, the targets, the deadlines they ask you to meet, does not affect your mental space, because there's a relationship between it. You can see from the statistic that I just showed up now. It is a fact. It has been proven that your work can affect your mental health. And the fact that you have mental illness can also affect your level of productivity at work. All right, so let's move on. I just want us to get to where the tips are. Okay, here I'm just talking about you need to keep as professionals, we need to ensure that we are aware about our mental health. This is just what this slide is all about. Just know that if you have excessive workload, if you have problems at work, you need to understand that it's affect your mental health. So as a leader, as a professional, you have to ensure that you protect your mental space and also that of people that are working with you, your co-workers, your subordinates, and all. All right. So now to the tips. Are you with me? Now to the tips, all right? I want you to understand that. I understand that when we were in school, we were taught, or what we're used to is maybe you have intelligent quotient, which is IQ. Everybody says, oh, this person is very intelligent based on the person's ability to read and pass exams. Even at work, if you're able to, meet your targets, you're very, very creative and you do a lot of things, then they believe that, oh, this person is very intelligent. However, let me shock you that emotional intelligence is very important. It is one of the determinants, one of those things that would help you stand out as a person that is mentally stable and mentally strong. And not only in that regard, not only about you, it also increases your level of productivity, according to research, by 20%. It increases it by 20% as compared to if you only limit yourself to technical skills, your ability to do things. If you're not emotionally intelligent, you would not be as productive as you would have been if you were. You understand? So here are 5 tips that I want to talk about today. I want to know if you guys are with me. If you are with me, say hello, say hi.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
All right. So
as you continue, Dr. Adeola, I'm seeing someone has raised their hand. Actually, 2 people. Let me unmute them and see if it's a question. Maureen.
Okay.
Kindly unmute yourself. Maureen and McPaul, is it a question or is... Let me unmute them.
Not Maureen? A question, just saying I'm with her, we're following.
Okay, right, perfect.
Okay,
yeah, can go ahead.
Fine. All right. So like I was saying, I was trying to explain that emotional intelligence is the way. It's like the key to you being both personally stable as a person and in your career being, if you want to be very productive at work, these are the things you need to know. You need to learn how to be emotionally intelligent. And the good news is that we're not born with it. You don't have to be born. Some people have a level of empathy. Maybe they inherited it. Some are naturally more empathic than others. But the good news is that it can be learned. Even if you don't have that level of empathy, you're not that kind of person that shows empathy, that is kind towards people, or you consider other people, you can also learn it. And that's why I believe you are in this workshop today, to know how to go about it. So yeah, 5 important things you need to know if you want to ensure your level of productivity skyrockets. You want to ensure that you're very good at work, you're able to meet your target as much as possible, because we are human beings and we are social animals. We connect with people. You cannot be by yourself. You cannot, even if you have the ideas, you need people that would execute these ideas, would work with you, and you need to understand how to relate with these people, how to connect with them without hurting them, understanding from their own points of view, and not stepping on on toes rather. And then so here are the 5 important points you need to know. Self-awareness is number 1. When we talk about self-awareness, you need to know that it's about understanding yourself, who you are, your feelings. I like talking about thoughts, feelings, and behavior. There's a link between the 3. Your thoughts, whatever dominates your thoughts, affects how you feel, your emotions. And once your emotions are affected, then it affects your behavior. So whenever you think that I'm not good enough, I don't think my boss likes me, then you have this negative emotion of, you start feeling sad, probably get angry, irritable, and then your behavior changes. Probably you withdraw from your boss, thinking your boss does not like you. So once you start to change that thinking pattern of, my boss likes me, everything changes. So it begins with your thoughts. And how do you ensure that? It's through self-awareness. You can't just keep going about, getting angry, getting too sensitive to criticisms, getting stressed out without knowing what is causing this. You need to be able to identify what the triggers are. You need to be able to, help yourself and understand why you act the way you do. And this is done through self-awareness. Believe me, self-awareness is not something that is easy. It is not easy. It is something you have to do intentionally. Like you need a journal and you need to write down all how you feel per time. Once you notice, oh, this is an emotion that I feel, you understand your emotions. What makes you happy? What makes you sad? What drives you? What makes you angry? You write them down so that we want to understand who you are. And when we're talking about self-awareness, it is not about only negative things. It's about things that drives you, things that motivates you, your goals, your aspirations, things that makes you satisfied. You will only work at the highest level of productivity if you do things that you're passionate about. That's just the truth. So if you don't discover what makes you happy, what makes you feel fulfilled in life, you would not be able to do them. So you just keep complaining, this work is stressing me. One thing I've noticed is that once you do what you love, the stress would not really matter. You will not really feel, okay, you might feel somebody and you might need to rest. But once you are well rested, you won't feel that mental stress, so to speak, just because you love what you're doing. And the only way to understand whether you love a thing or not is through self-awareness. You need to pay attention to what drives you. So you can only do that by journaling, by meditation. This is how you become self-aware. You meditate, you journal, you write down those things that make you happy and angry. You write down your goals, you set goals. You want to know, and I need you to understand that self-awareness is a progress. It's not something that can be done speedily and rapidly. It's something that you do gradually from day to day. You keep doing. And an important part of self-awareness is also the external aspect. A lot of us focus on the internal aspect, trying to understand ourselves, but we do not focus on the external part of self-awareness, meaning that how do people see me? That is where empathy comes in. I'm going to talk about empathy soon. That is where empathy comes in. You might be very organized, you might like to plan your things, you might like to do your things in a particular way, but another person might see you as cocky. Why is she always doing that? What's her own? Do you get? And you need these people to be able to work effectively with them, right? You need them to understand, you need them to be able to network with them and make them do things. So if you don't understand how they see you, you will keep having issues. So that is where external awareness comes to play. There has to be a balance between your internal awareness, which is understanding yourself, and your environment, the external awareness. How do people see me? I understand myself. I know I like this, I like that. I know what I want. I'm good at that. But how do people see those things that I like? How do people see me in the terms of how I deliver my work, my duties at work? How do people see me in terms of, oh, she likes coming to work at a particular time, she gets to work, she gets it done. A lot of people might get angry at that. Why is she always, is she the only one? But you need to come from their own level. Why are they seeing you in that manner? You need to be able to reason. Why do they think? Maybe they don't understand. Maybe you need to come to their own level, and that is where you'll be able to relate well with people without having any problems or any altercations with them. Then the second point is self-regulation. Fine, you know what your emotions are. You know that you get irritated when things are disorganized. Maybe I'm using that kind of example because that's what applies to me most of the time. I'm this kind of person, I like things being done orderly. So when I see a lot of dirt around, or maybe you're not organized, you've not done what I asked you to do, I might get irritated really. So, but that doesn't mean I should always express how I feel anyhow because it's what affects me. Do you understand what I'm saying? You are this kind of person that you get irritated. Another person might not see it in that manner. The person might just be probably taking their time, or their personality is different from yours, and you're not being patient enough to regulate your emotions. Everything you do is just to lash out and just say it the way it is without finding a better way of communicating, criticizing, passing out your message in a very what's it called, in a very positive manner, in a constructive manner. You understand? So you need to be able to self-regulate. No matter what it is, you've identified your emotions, you've identified what drives you. You need to be able to regulate it, whether it's good or bad. Some people, whenever they achieve something, they throw it to everyone. They make it seem as if every other person do not matter. Do you understand? So whether it's positive, it's something, if you achieve something, you don't have to, throw it at everybody's way and start feeling like, oh, I've arrived. And I'm not saying you should not celebrate yourself, but always put others around you in consideration. It's very important. You need people to survive, no matter what it is. So if you're flying high, yes, I'm making it, my target, I've trashed it, oh, deadline, your boss likes you, good, fantastic. But you won't come and answer, say, oh, yes, I'm the best in my office, this is this. You start having great enemies for yourself before you know you're on your own. You won't be able to interact with them. They start gossiping behind your back. And before you know, you start having some mental health issues. That's just the truth. And these mental health issues will now start affecting your level of productivity. And before you know, it starts deteriorating. So no matter what it is, if you are on the high side, you're making waves, good for you. But be careful, because nothing stays forever. Nothing is permanent. So you need to self-regulate from time to time. Motivation is also one of it. You have to find what motivates you. You have to understand what motivates you. You have to hold on to it. Those things that motivate you is what you should, keep doing. These things motivate. I understand that we are, sometimes we may not have control over some of these things. That's just the truth. We may not have control over them, because you might find yourself in a work, you just needed to work because you have to make money, really, and you're not yet able to find what you really love to do. Sometimes what you really love to do might not even bring the money you want. Those are the realities of life. However, you can still apply all of these things while you look forward to getting those things. Achieving what you really want to do in life. You can still manage, try to apply these principles in your present work environment, in your career that you're building right now, while you hope to achieve that which you really want to do in life. Empathy is also an important thing, and we need to really be empathetic. It's very, very important. Excuse me. Empathy is all about you putting yourself in another person's shoes, no matter how bad, how negative, how disoriented, or how difficult a person is. Just put yourself in that person's shoes. That what is it that this person is going through? And a lot of times, most times, when people lash out at you, or maybe they get angry or criticize you, it is not about you. You need to understand that it's not always about you. It is about them. A lot of times we project our feelings, our thoughts, our weaknesses to people unknowingly, subconsciously. And that is why we need to show empathy. When you understand that, honestly, you won't have issues with people. Even with a boss or your subordinates, if someone is always criticizing you or making you feel this and saying this, you're not good, you are too slow, you are this, complain about what you do at work or in your career, you just want to know that I hope my boss is fine. Not that you take offense, but because you understand that the person is probably projecting their own fears, what they're going through onto you, like they're transferring aggression towards you. So you need to understand that empathy is all about being considerate, understanding how a person feels, and try not to react based on that. So you won't take offense, you won't have unforgiveness, all those negative emotions will not be in you, and you are mentally safe. Then social skill is all about relating with people, interpersonal relationships with people, understanding how to communicate effectively and all. So those are the 5 technical, keys or important points under emotional intelligence. If there are questions, please just let me know. As I round up my session, because I think I don't know if I'm almost 20 minutes gone, but as I round up my session, I'm just going to share with you some other tips. Here, you apply it at work, you apply it in your personal life, you apply it everywhere. These are tips that works when it comes to your mental health, things that you need to do, that you need to ensure that you're mentally safe, really. Okay, so to prevent, this particular slide is talking about some mental health problems that one could have: depression, bipolar, anxiety disorders, sleep disorders, schizophrenia, substance abuse. And I need you to understand that it's not, you should not think that, see, because these particular illnesses are not in my family, then I'm safe. Remember, I said it that no one is immune to mental illness. And as a matter of fact, 1 in 5 persons will come down with mental illness in their lifetime. So anybody can have it, because there are a lot of factors that make people come down with these illnesses. So we're now going to talk about how do you protect yourself from coming down with it? How would you ensure that your work, stress from work, stress from family, stress from every area of your life, because all of these things work together. If you have problems in your family, it's going to affect your work. If you have problems, a lot of problems, happening to you personally, it's going to affect how productive you are, how effective, how you concentrate at work, and a lot of things. So you need to be holistic about it. This has to be a total package for you. So these are the things you can do to prevent that. Number 1 is practice self-care. We get busy a lot. We are so competitive at work because we want to show or prove to our bosses that, yes, I'm better off than this person. I've been there and I know what I'm talking about. So it's not a matter of, so I know that you people understand. I know you understand really. So, but the thing is that I always tell people, no matter how important that thing is, your mental health comes first. If you understand that, your mental health comes first, you won't compete. You should understand who you are. You should be realistic enough that, this is what I can take. I cannot go beyond this. Do you get? So once you understand that, you won't go. Another person might have the energy level to keep firing and fine, good for them. We are on different levels, are on different races, on different journey. I'm not ready to compete with you. Life is too short. This is what's one life. So practicing self-care is something that we need to do intentionally. We forget, we get busy, we want to hustle, I understand. But please, let's just inculcate this habit of everyday lives. Just intentionally write those things down. Today, 30 minutes, I'm going to stay off work and I'm just going to probably meditate or do something different from work. Today, I'm going to make sure I sleep for at least 8 hours. Are you aware that you need about 7 to 8 hours of sleep to perform effectively? I mean, are you guys aware? Oh, dear Lord. Honestly, I know that even for me, I can't sleep for 8 hours straight on. So I try to break it down. I can't, because I'll just wake up. I mean, that energetic person in me I'll just wake up in the middle of the night. And before you know it, a lot of ideas will come into my mind. Like, I need to pen all these things down. But I try to ensure that at the end of the day, at the end of 24 hours, I've slept for 8 hours, because I know that it's important for my mental health. So please, let's take note of all of these things. There are a lot of other self-care practices. So please practice self-care. Learn to delegate. We need to delegate. We need to learn to ask for help. We need to, not be perfectionist, so to speak. I have to do it myself. Nobody knows it better than I am. Nobody knows it. It's a lie. That you're fantastic. We are all wonderful. We're all fearfully and wonderfully made, no doubt. But please note that no matter what it is, the beautiful ones are yet to be born. So no matter how good you think you are, there are better people than you. That's just it. So please delegate. Make good use of the resources around you, human resources, financial resources, whatever it is. Delegate. You don't have to do all by yourself. It's going to help you reduce stress level and you feel good. And don't micromanage people. Let them do it. Let them make their mistakes, and then you teach them, you guide them. You need people that will be able to, even when you're not there. Let's say, God forbid, you're ill. Would your work not go on? It would go on. So please delegate. Then your progress, you need to appreciate your progress. Whenever you're doing one thing, don't look at the final destination. I have to be this. And then you keep saying, until I become that, that is when I'll feel good about myself. You need to be able to appreciate every little step you make. So that makes you feel good. You will complain less. Negative emotions would reduce, and your mental health is stable. Forgive your mistakes. When you make mistakes, forgive yourself, forgive others. It's very important. And then foster a relationship with people. Be intentional about it. Not everyone is that kind of person that likes to call people. Not everyone likes to, people being around, but just be intentional about it. See it as an obligation, because you know that it's important. At your workplace, It's not as if you want to talk to, you might not feel like it, but because you understand that you need to invest in relationships around you, just, hello, how are you doing? I said I should greet you. I hope you're fine. Wow, you look good. Just compliment people. It won't, it won't stop anything. It won't affect you in any way, really. So foster your relationship with people. You never can tell when you would need those people in any stage of your life. Then be flexible. We all have plans. COVID-19, in fact, affected a lot of people's plans this year. So we need to be flexible. If you're so fixed and rigid, if you're not agile enough to, change our plans and find, have like plan B, plan C, it will affect us. Once you set your mind on something and you're like, oh, I have to get this particular thing done, it's going to break you down mentally. So you need to be flexible. If this does not work out, what else can I do? Then ask for help. Whenever you're stressed out, whenever you realize that this thing is affecting your mental, I'm sure you have HR in your company, in your organization. I'm sure you have people that are willing to listen to you. Not everyone would just, should turn their deaf ears. There's some people that would want to really, really help. But until you ask for help, you may not get that help. So please be willing to ask for help whenever you need it. Ask for help from your friends, from therapists, just be willing to ask for help. So here are my recommendations. We, as professionals, as leaders in organizations, we should ensure that we be role models of positive mental health behavior. All right? We should ensure we be role models of positive mental health behavior. We should care about others feeling, like I said, care for people. You did not see this person, try and call them, get to know what is going on, not because you really want to, but because you knew that it's the right thing to do. Then you encourage and support others. Don't always look for fault or find fault in things people do. No matter what it is, a person has tried. Even if it did not work out, you should find a way of constructively, criticizing instead of making the person feel bad about it. Support each other, and then there should actually be a referral system in place for people whenever, especially at work. If you have an organization, I know we are professionals here, if I'm right, yes, I believe so. Yeah. So maybe you have employers, or you're working with people. You can even suggest it to your organization that, oh, let's have like a therapist or someone that we can always talk to. I know we normally have HR in our companies that we talk to. I don't know if they're specialists in this field. I don't think so. But you should always have a way of linking people to support system. Once you notice, oh, this person has problems, the work, whatever they are doing is not being productive, then you're able to connect them to source of help so that they can get help early enough. And you should also encourage, the environment should be relaxing enough. You should encourage relaxation, rest, and, allow people to go for their breaks. I know that's another issue at work. When bosses will say, oh, no, you're not going on leave. It's very important. We need to encourage as professionals. If you have employers and they need to go on break, we should allow them to do that. We ourselves also need that as well. We should ensure that we take breaks frequently. It helps our mental health and our level of productivity. So, in conclusion, I've talked about a lot of things today. I don't even know how to recap. Just understand that there's no health without mental health. And your level and your mental health is the bedrock of how successful you become in life. So whenever your work is affecting you mentally, please, sometimes I just cover my laptop and be like, oh, I'm not doing anything today. Whatever it is will happen, let it happen. A deadline or no deadline, I don't care. I just need that break. So if you desperately need break, please take that break. So that by the time you're back, by the time you're done with that break, you become energized. You feel refreshed, you feel relaxed, and you're able to do a whole lot of things. But if you keep looking at the target, you stress yourself too much. Please always understand that your mental health comes first. And it is possible to be productive at work. Very, very possible to be productive at work, regardless of how the environment is. There's always a way around it. All right, so that's all. And there's no health without mental
Mental
health.
health. I love that. I love that. There is no health without mental health. Dr. Adeola, thank you so much for those amazing insights. You know, when you're talking, I just felt like you're talking to me, especially that part for delegating. I find it so hard to delegate, but after this, I think I'll start delegating. I still think it's gonna be hard, but I'll start delegating. Also,
was in your shoes. I'm still in your shoes. I'm learning as well. So we are all in progress, really. That's
Great. I also love the way you've said you need to have balance between internal and external awareness. That was very profound. So my question would be, is there a connection, or rather, there's definitely a connection between emotional intelligence and mental health, right? From what you've talked about, right? Okay,
yes.
Great.
Yes.
Okay. Then lastly, I loved what you said, practice self-care. Self-care is very important. I know most of the time we say we don't have time to practice self-care, but it is very, very important. So I'm seeing a couple of questions coming through. So there's someone from YouTube who asks, how do you realize that stress is beyond the acceptable limits?
Yeah, there are a lot of symptoms of, I'll call them symptoms, or let's say signs of stress. We broke it down into cognition, your body, your physical symptoms, your emotional symptoms. So when it comes to cognition, that cognition has to do with your ability to think. So whenever stress is very high, it's at a very level that you cannot say, you definitely have problems with thinking, poor concentration. Some people might experience poor concentration. Some people might have problem thinking. Some people might have problem being productive. Another thing is that some might start reacting negatively. They might become irritable, cranky. Some might be easily moved to tears. Some would experience physical symptoms like body aches, fatigue, and then some might even have problem with sleep. So a whole lot of, it depends on a person. Let me share my own personal experience. When I'm stressed, I just go blank. I just realize I won't be able to do anything. I'll just be like, I'll just be looking, and everything just slows down. My brain, everything, and then I start feeling serious body aches, and then I become very emotional. I could start tearing, and then I can be cranky as well. I just get angry easily, get irritated. So when you notice all of these things, it's not because someone gets you angry. It is, you have to check yourself. Sometimes we blame others. We start saying, "Oh, this person particularly got me angry." No, on a normal day, you wouldn't have done that if you were not stressed. So you need to pay attention to all of these signs to know when you are stressed and when you need to take a break from work.
Okay, great. I am seeing there's a comment here actually from Kingsley Maina. He says, Dr. Adeola, much appreciated for your insights based on productivity at work. I tend to disagree with you. For some of us at our workplaces, our superiors not tend to understand the aspect of home-work balance. One tends to risk losing their job if they apply that, as you shall be deemed as underperformer. How else can we address such an issue with a non-cooperative superior?
See, what we do right now is we keep advocating, we keep creating awareness, and we do a lot of EAP. That's we try to, go to organizations, companies, and tell them how important mental health is. For instance, what I just presented here, I do this. A lot of my colleagues, we do all of something like this in organizations, where bosses are, where the policy makers are, so that they understand that their workers, their employers, they need break. I understand that we are not there yet. We are not there yet. I understand what she's saying. I mentioned it then, that you may not be able to, you may not even like where you are right now, but because you need to make money, you can't leave the place. But there's a way you can always go around it. I understand that you have targets to meet and all, but trust me, if you can space all of these things, if you can just space them, try to find a way of putting self-care into your practice, into your daily activities, even if it's just for 10, 15 minutes. Many times we think it's our boss that is pushing us, but we also want these accolades. We want to be able to, let them say we have done this, because we are competitive. That's just the truth. I understand that we have targets to meet and all. And sometimes when it gets to a level where this stress is getting too much, sometimes some people will take off work. I'm leaving this job. I can't continue like this, because we understand that our mental health is really, really important, and we need to protect our mental health. If you understand the implications of allowing your work to stress you so much you break down, you would know that your mental health is very important. You will know how to, you prioritize your mental health above every other thing. But what I would say in summary is that we'll keep educating. But as a person, if you cannot change the environment, if you cannot, your boss does not understand at all, try as much as possible to practice some of these things that I've said. You may not be able to apply all. Self-care would give you more energy to work. Do you understand? You have a plan. Have a plan, a short-term goal and a long-term goal. Oh, in this company, I won't spend more than I won't be here for more than 2 years. And you already make up your mind. You have a plan. So you're working towards that. Probably you're trying to save money to move to another thing that would give you more joy and satisfaction. And while you are doing that, you try to practice self-care, you try to take care of yourself and ensure that you deliver as much as possible. What they want from you, So it is not impossible. It is doable. It might be difficult, but it is doable, really. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Adeola, for the insights. I know there's a couple of questions on the chat box. Maybe you can just stay with us and maybe just answer them. Because of time, we cannot do it live, but we'll truly appreciate if you can do that. And also, once more, thank you so much for availing yourself for this session. This has been amazing.
My pleasure. I really appreciate it. You're doing a good job. Well done.
Great. Thank you. So now I think we'll move to our third speaker because of time. And our third speaker is a HR professional. Let me just stop sharing these. Yes, so our third speaker is a HR professional with over 25 years in the multi-sectoral HR leadership experience. She has vast multi-sector experience, having worked in the NGO sector, retail, and media industry. Over her career, she grew in the career ladder, with her last corporate position being in the HR director of Standard Media Group. She is now in her fourth year as an entrepreneur, executing purpose through her organization, which is TalentGurus 254, where she is now using her vast HR experience to assist companies and individuals unleash their true potential. She was in 2017 awarded the Global Top 100 Training and Leadership Award due to her past contribution and new thinking around people training and development. So Pauline, Kiraither, if you're here, I'd kindly ask you to unmute yourself and also start your video. Hello, hi Pauline.
Hi, how are you?
I am well. Karibu sana, the platform is yours.
Thank you. So good, it's still good morning, isn't it? Yes,
yes
good morning.
It is, yes.
Yeah, so good morning all. It's a privilege to join you in this talk this morning. And yes, it's an interesting topic for us to discuss and a very important one, especially at the time that we are in right now. So I'll just share my screen so that we can go through the presentation.
Great. So kindly note, we shall be sharing all the presentations with all of you, so at least you can have something for reference.
Yes, so thank you, Wendy, again for inviting me to do this. And yes, I'll just share from my experience while managing people and now also managing people's careers as a career coach as well as an executive leadership coach. So what I'll say is stress is can be a key motivator and can also destroy. So the key thing is to understand how to understand where the balance comes in. So I felt in today's presentation, I just need to quickly take you through just a definition of what really mental health is. What are the common health challenges that we see in the workplace? I'll give you a few characteristics so you can do a bit of your own self-diagnosis. Yeah, and then what are the key triggers, especially in the workplace, that can lead to mental health? I'm sure you've had the doctor just before me. She said the majority of the cases of mental health are actually triggered in the workplace. Yeah, so we'll see what are the key triggers so that you're aware of them. Then we'll also see another critical thing that they say either nature or nurture. Nature is nature is what you are born with. Nurture is the environment you are in. Yeah, so environment can be the workplace, but there's also nature, what you are born with. Yeah, so your personality can also be a contributor that could lead to ill mental health. And we'll see how it plays out in the workplace. And then we'll see why it makes a lot of sense for even businesses to look at good mental health, and talk about even the things that I was able to do in various corporates. And then just also for you, how do you start managing your own mental health? Yeah, so mental health, we always look at health as our body, but mental health has come truly to the fore, I think, in the last maybe 5 years, because we've been seeing a lot of people who have been seen to be doing well, committing suicide. And we're wondering how can that happen? And you seem to have everything. Yeah, so mental health is the emotional, psychological, as well as social well-being. Yeah, your ability to relate with others. Emotional is being able to identify your emotions and be able to control them and manage them appropriately, depending on the situation you find yourself in. Psychological, in terms of even how you view yourself, and just basically the balance, the internal balance that you have within yourself. And social, in terms of how you relate with others in the workplace, as well as also you and your friends outside the workplace and your family. So basically, your mental health will actually affect how you think, how you feel, and how you act. Yeah. So the thing of being constantly annoyed, know that that's your emotions telling you that there's something wrong. Yourself constantly withdrawn, just know that also your emotions are also telling you there's something wrong. Yeah. If you're always having outbursts in the workplace or even outside, you know that is also your emotions telling you is something that you need to take care of. Yeah, because what it means is that you've been triggered, but you're unable to manage your reactions. So it affects how we think, how we feel about ourselves, and how we act. Yeah, and also helps us determine how we can handle stress, how we relate with others, and the kind of choices that we make. Yeah, because there's some, and you'll see going forward, there's a way, even our own personality can actually lead us to making certain types of decisions, in certain ways. So based on your personality type, like cholerics, the people who are seen to be leaders, most leaders fall under cholerics, are seen to be driven, they are go-getters, but they are seen to be spontaneous sometimes. So they can take high-risk decisions. Yeah. So you need to understand how do you make certain choices, and how does it affect you. So basically, mental health is around all that. So it's about your emotions, your psychological, as well as social being. So I decided to just focus on the 4 key mental health challenges that I have seen in the workplace. So, and actually they seem to be the more popular ones across the world. So it's depression, bipolar disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and anxiety. Yeah, so they say researchers have ranked the most costly health conditions as depression, obesity, arthritis, back pain and neck pain, and anxiety. And you can see two of the most costly health conditions are depression and anxiety, which actually fall in the mental space. So you can see the mind, and even they say the mind is the one that determines everything that you are able to do in your life. So if you don't take care of your mind, which is your mental health, you'll find you tend to struggle with life. So depression. So basically, depression is just prolonged. I'm not a doctor, so I'll give you the simple layman's understanding of these illnesses, but it's for your understanding, so that when you start feeling this way, you can be able to identify it. Yeah. So depression is prolonged sadness. Yeah, so there are people who can be actually sad for a month. So if you find yourself, you're constantly sad, yeah, you need to have a check. So they always say in a week, if you find that 4 days out of 7, you've been sad more than happy, then there's a problem. There's a problem in terms of, you need to try and get diagnosed in terms of if you're depressed or not. Yeah, and if you need to manage it. Yeah, because you're not meant to be constantly sad, and the sadness doesn't need to be prolonged. So symptoms of people who are in the workplace, the way I've seen it, and even just generally, key symptoms you'll see is nervousness, restlessness, irritability, preoccupation of aches and pains. Yeah, because they just focus on what is not working. Yeah, so you'll find even it starts with the mind and it will translate even to the body. Yeah, and the key characteristic of such people, you'll find there's a lot of absenteeism. Yeah, because they do not have that motivation to come to the workplace. And unfortunately, they tend to lose their jobs a lot. Yeah, because they are not consistent. You know, the thing about keeping a job is about consistency. Yeah, it's about you being able to keep your word that you're going to deliver on your roles. Yeah, and then they change jobs often. Yeah, because they actually think that the environment is the one that's affecting them, without knowing that actually they need to just manage themselves better. Yeah, because the issue can't be the workplace that you're always in. Yeah, so the thing is, ask yourself if you've been changing jobs often, thinking that the problem is the people, your colleagues. So maybe there is an issue in terms of how you're able to cope in that environment. The other one is bipolar disorder. And this is where, and mainly actually happens amongst creatives. Yeah, I've seen it a lot with the creatives and a lot with the leaders. Some leaders, highly creative leaders. Yeah. So this is cycling between an elevated as well as depressed mood. Yeah. So the elevated is referred to as the maniac moods, while the low points of moods is called the depressed moods. So you can see there are people, and I'm sure you've come across, where they are super active, hyperactive, and then all of a sudden you'll find them in a completely opposite state. And you're wondering, I thought you're the same person who was just energetic, driving everybody towards meeting a specific goal. Yeah, and for many creatives, this is how they operate. So for them, they will work so hard towards delivering whatever target they've been given. Majority of them actually even work by night. Yeah, and then they deliver and they usually come up with spectacular ideas. But after that, it goes down here. Yeah, they go to a complete drop. Usually with life, you're meant to actually, and maybe the doctor will tell us, you need to be able to regulate your emotions. There has to be a balance. So you can't move from a complete high to a complete low. Yeah, so you have to be able to regulate your emotions. Then ADHD and bipolar actually might not be something that you're doing. It could be actually also your genetic makeup. Yeah, so some of these illnesses, unfortunately, some could be already could be pre-existing conditions when you are being born. Yeah, so it's important for you to know if this is happening, then you can get diagnosed so that you can manage it. So there's medicine that can be able to regulate. Yeah, so not everything will be triggered in the workplace, but there are some people who come with it already preloaded. So they say there's a phrase that says that our genetic makeup, our personality, that is called it's like the bullet that's been loaded in the gun, but our lifestyle is the one that triggers the gun. You understand? So the work environment is the one that will trigger it. So this is already preloaded in our system. But if you are not aware of yourself and what you're predisposed to, then certain environments are going to trigger certain reactions. Yeah. Then the other key mental challenge I saw was the ADHD, which is the hyperactivity also, the lack of concentration. Yeah, and these ones tend to be very disorganized. they are unable to meet deadlines, they are unable to manage multiple demands, even manage their workload. They have problems with instructions, they argue with colleagues, and they are likely to be disciplined, for behavior in the workplace. So you'll find with time they erode their career. So in terms of even earning, they'll tend to earn 20 to 40% less than others, because you see it starts affecting your performance ratings. It now starts affecting your bonuses and your salary increments. So you'll find with time they end up earning less. Another common one, mental challenge, is anxiety disorders, and which is also very common in the workplace. So as Dr. said, stress is a good as well as a bad factor. The same thing with anxiety. Anxiety is meant to motivate you to want to do more. But if you find anxiety now takes over, and you start obsessing, and fearing, then now it becomes a problem. So it should actually, it's a normal reaction to stress or difficult times. And it can be triggered. But the thing is, it's actually meant to motivate you into action. It's meant to be a positive kicker into our system. But if you find that it goes on for a long time, that you tend to obsess over it, then you start becoming paranoid, where there's even physical signs that you're undergoing anxiety. There are people, if you tell them to do public speaking, they're sweating, trembling, lightheadedness. Your heart is racing. If you find that you're unable to manage yourself, then you find that maybe you need to try and see how you can manage it if it's consistent. But the normal small fear before you do certain tasks, like even talking, is normal, but it's meant to trigger you to do a better performance. So characteristics here is about restlessness, fatigue, difficulty in concentrating, worrying, excess worrying, depression, and sometimes irritability. People are irritable. And the key effects would be ulcers, gastrointestinal distress, sleep disturbance, insomnia, and even heart trouble. And then the fifth disorder is actually the eating disorder. So there's anorexia, which we all know, it's where people fear eating. So people actually tend to cope with their stress through not eating, or others eat and then they remove their food. They induce vomiting. Then there's bulimia. And bulimia is where now you binge eating. And then there's actual binging. Now here I'll put it into the workplace. Binge eating, bulimia. A lot of us think that we're just having fun, but I know a lot of Kenyans suffer from this, especially with alcohol. So where you wait until Friday and then you drink. Friday, Saturday, you're just drinking, binging because the weekend is here. This can be a form of coping mechanism, where we are using food as comfort. And I'll tell you, like for me, until I got to work with the media, because media is a high stress environment. You produce a newspaper every single day. So you have a daily deadline. Most people, their work, the deadline could be monthly or it could be weekly, but this one is a daily deadline. So the stress, it's a high stress environment. And I can tell you that's the first place I saw people who drink daily, which for me was completely unheard of. But it's because they're trying to cope with their stress, the work stress, and the environment and the demands. So they say an estimated 1 in 5 deaths is from anorexia, ends up in suicide. 1 in 10 people who have bulimia, end up with substance abuse, struggle with substance use disorder. So this is where alcohol abuse comes in, and then there are others, binge eating disorder. Almost 40% who struggle with binge eating actually are male, So it's important for us to know the things that you can be easily predisposed to, the things that you do innocently, thinking that you're just having fun, like those binge drinkings over weekends, where you drink for the whole week. You say, I don't drink from Monday to Friday, but Friday you drink for the whole week again. So it's very important for you to understand your patterns so that you know if you're if you're operating, you're managing a health challenge, which you're not really conscious of. So what are the key triggers in our careers that can actually take us there? Because there are certain things that actually trigger us. So triggers are the things that will push you there. So it's important for you to understand what are the things that will push you to poor mental health. So the first one is where we have unrealistic work deadlines, high pressure environments, like what I've just described about the media industry, where the people do not care how you will deliver, but every day you have to deliver, So people feel pressured, and they wonder, they try to find an outlet, because the thing is, when you feel pressure, there has to be an outlet. So the thing is, you have to find a positive outlet, to take this, to take out the stress, The unfortunate thing is, if you use things like alcohol to remove the stress, toxic work environment, toxic work environment in the sense that people are uncooperative, people are undercutting each other, people are not supportive. I'm sure it's common in many corporates. So that has also contributed to a lot of mental stress. Bullying in the workplace, bullying in the sense where a boss who is more superior than the subordinates will end up bullying the team members. And so for that, the team members, every time they're thinking of coming to work, they're just stressed out. They're just wondering, how will I make it? How will I make it through this day? So that can also be a trigger. And bullying could be even in the form of sexual harassment. Especially for the ladies who are harassed in the workplace. So it can also be a trigger. Bad bosses. I can tell you, I had a bad boss once for 3 years. So as Dr. said, sometimes you will be in an environment where it is stressful and it is difficult. But what you do is, for me, what I told myself, because I remember I was very ready, always. I had a pre-typed resignation letter, but I remember telling myself, you know what, I'm going to leave here when I'm ready to leave. And guess what? I actually managed to stay there for 3 years without bad boss, but I achieved what I wanted to achieve. So you have to always look at your career and ask yourself, do I leave because of this one person who's been hired like me? Or what are the mechanisms will I put in place to ensure that I can separate my work and what I am doing, achieve what I need to achieve with my career, and move on. So you have to be very clear, of your career objectives. Because like for me, that time I was doing my master's, I needed to finish my master's at that point, and I was you know what, this bad boss will not make me leave this organization, which was very near to even where I was doing my master's, which was convenient. I said, you know what, I'm going to suffer for this season. But by the time I was even finishing, she was actually let go herself. So sometimes even God will intervene in the process. So sometimes it's about you now managing. You realize what the trigger is, understand how you're going to manage it, and also place it in the context of your career and how you're going to build your career. Because jumping from one job to the other because you have a bad boss, that's not good enough. That's not a good enough reason for you to change and to settle your career. Office politics and cocoons, especially if you have poor work relations with your colleagues, you'll find you might be left out. So it ends up even making you more stressed out because you feel that you're a loner in the workplace. The other thing is also, if your organization is also highly political, those are the things that also trigger mental issues. I've talked about sexual harassment, then stress, overwork, and burnout. Yeah, I'm sure you know, like right now with COVID, organizations have looked at, have reviewed numbers, staff headcounts, and people have been retrenched. So people now are doing work for 1 or 2 or 3 people. Yeah, so everybody is carrying a heavier load and everybody is more stressed out. So the thing is, you have to find a way to manage all those work demands. Yeah, because the thing is, unfortunately, even the organization has to try and survive in this season. Yeah, so those were external factors. Those are work-related triggers. Then there are self-related triggers. So can you see the self-related triggers are even more than the external. So actually our mental health is our key responsibility, ours. Yeah, and so there's much more that we can manage from for ourselves, because it's actually within our own control. So the other trigger is being unqualified for the role that you're doing. I can tell you this affects directly your self-esteem. Yeah, so if you're unable to do the job that you've been hired to do, it becomes now a key stress factor. Yeah, you end up getting stressed, you end up hating the role, you end up hating going to work, yeah, because you are struggling to do the job. So this is something that you can solve yourself. Yeah, because what you need to do is just go. If you find that there's a place where you're challenged, you go to, if you need to go back to school to acquire those skills, do it so that you can make your life easier. The other thing is also be realistic in terms of the jobs that you apply for. Yeah, they say there's something called the Peters principle. You can actually go up the ladder. You can accelerate yourself up the career ladder to the point that you actually kick yourself out of a job. Yeah, because you get to a point where now you actually become ineffective. It's called the Peters principle. So you have to be very aware of your capabilities and the roles that you apply for. Then there's poor performance. Yeah, so that's being unqualified, which also results to poor performance. So if you're constantly being given negative feedback about your job, you will be stressed about the job. Yeah, I'm sure for anyone performance rated where you're given the lowest score, I'm sure you're not happy. No one would be ever happy in getting such, and that can be a very stressful time. Poor job fit. Yeah, and this is not even in terms of qualification. It's in terms of even the job that you took. Yeah, where you're a misfit for the role that you've applied for. Yeah, so they say we all have work personalities. It's important for you to invest in understanding what is your work personality and what are the roles or careers that best fit you. Yeah, and how you're going to do this is through your own self-development, taking psychometric tests, understanding if you're a good fit in the job that you do and the roles that you're doing. Because they say the most successful people are the people who are playing out with their strengths. Yeah, so if you're a good fit for the role that you're doing, imagine it becomes a no-brainer. You do not struggle in doing the job that you're hired to do. And that is where everybody should get themselves to. Yeah, and I'll tell you, one of the reasons why I even got out of corporate to start TalentGurus is because I realized this is the biggest problem that we have in Kenya. Majority of the people got into the wrong roles. Yeah, so you're struggling to do a job that even you hate. Yeah, and you're doing it for over 10 years. Do that. Yeah, and then the third bit is the reason why we don't even have creativity and innovation coming out from the workplace is because people are holding jobs they feel very little for. So the thing is, this is a point where you need to invest in getting a career coach, get people to help you, yeah, discover what you are created for, because you have to invest in self-discovery, yeah, discover what careers best fit you, so that when you get into those jobs, yeah, it will be like a glove to a hand. Yeah, that fit is so important. I've seen so many people lose careers, yeah, because you're struggling in a role that doesn't fit you. Yeah. The other thing is interpersonal skills and work relations. How do you relate with your peers? How do you relate with your subordinates, even your supervisors? So don't be that kind of person who relates very well with your supervisors and you're horrible to your team members. Yeah. Or you're horrible to your subordinates. You have to be a good human being. You need to be able to relate well with everybody, and you have to be consistent. Yeah. And I can tell you, being bad to anybody does not pay. Yeah. So it's important for you to do, it's called a self-meeting. Ask yourself, am I a good person? And if you're not, can you start finding out how to improve? Yeah. And number one, the first step to ask yourself is, if the way I treat people, if I was treated that way, would I be happy with the way I treat, the way I've been treated? It's called the platinum rule. Always treat people the way you'd like to be treated. And I can tell you, it pays off. Yeah. And it also makes your life easier. Yeah. So like for me, I don't have any enemies. Yeah. Obviously, there are people who will try and trigger for you to have a fight. Yeah. Always rise above it. Always rise above it. You might look silly at that point, but always rise above such situations. And you will find you're actually maintaining your mental health. That you will be at peace with everybody and your life will continue normally. Yeah. But you can't be fighting and having grudges with everybody. Yeah. And even biblically, it's not allowed. Don't carry grudges. Yeah. The other thing is living a life you cannot afford. And I can tell you, unfortunately, COVID has come and it has exposed this. Yeah. Unfortunately, in the workplace, there's this, I know we talk about teamwork, yes, which is good, ability to work with others. But the thing about you wanting to copy your colleagues, yeah, peer group pressure, it actually still happens in the workplace. Then even there's some companies that want to brand themselves higher than others. Yeah, so there's a certain need to dress, or there's a certain way you need, places you need to hang out to fit in. Guys, cut your cloth, your garment according to your cloth. Yeah, try to define what are your values, and it all starts with what is your value system. Define your value system and live by your value system. Be true to yourself. Yeah, so irrespective of what is happening, you know why you're in that workplace. You know what has brought you into that workplace. Yeah, focus on what has brought you there. And remember, the job is just one stop in your career. Yeah, your career is a lifetime thing. Yeah, so like for me, I've worked in 5-6 organizations over 25 years. Yeah, it was just one step. A job is just one station in the bigger scheme of things. Yeah, so don't try and fit in with people there. You won't be there forever if you have a game plan. Yeah, but the people who are trying to fit in are the ones who are just trying to fit in with that work environment. Guess what? It's not a permanent station. So always have your own values, have your goals, your life goals as to why you're doing what you're doing, and live by it. And it's okay. It's okay sometimes to even do things on your own. You don't have to do things with everybody, because this thing, keeping up with the Kardashians, and following the Joneses, that has contributed to a lot of mental health issues. And that's why right now people are stressed out. They are unable to pay bills. They are unable to live their lifestyle because they realize they are living a fake life. Yeah, and those are the things. So the thing of copying others is because you do not accept who you are. So please invest in personal development. Yeah, go for personal courses, and I can tell you those courses will help you understand yourself, define yourself, understand your career, where you're going with your career. Yeah, like what you're doing right now. Those are the things that will help you, yeah, carve a path for yourself that irrespective of what is happening, you know where you're going. Yeah. I even saw it in media. We used to pay people in media a lot of money, but you would be surprised how many of them would be broke in the end. And you wonder how do you manage your money? Yeah, because They want to live a lifestyle. If people are going to Mombasa, you all want to fly to Mombasa, even if your family needs support. So you don't have the money, but you want to be seen to be living that lifestyle. Social media has made it worse. So just cut your path and be true to yourself. Yeah, overcommitting yourselves financially. That's another key trigger. Yeah, live within your means. Yeah, so they say your expenses and your living expenses and everything. Centonomy. Wendy can tell us you should not live on more than 60% of what you earn. 40% should be saved. Yeah, always ensure 40% of what you're earning every month is saved. Because right now, with this COVID, at least you would have a buffer. They say you need to have at least 6 months savings worth of your monthly expenses. So even if COVID goes on for another 6 months, you can be able to cater for your needs. Unplanned careers, stagnation. When you do not plan your career, if you do not have the bigger picture of why you're doing what you're doing on a daily basis, number one, you'll not be motivated in the job you're doing. And number two, you'll not be motivated to aspire for something bigger. So I'll tell you, like for me, when I was 25, I knew where I will be by 40. Yeah, I knew what I was going to do by 30, by 40. Yeah, because I had a career plan. I had a mentor. Those days we didn't have coaches. Now there are coaches. You need to get a coach. Yeah, plan out your life. Yeah, that knowing where you're going is what will motivate you on the day-to-day basis. Yeah. So if you do not have that long-term view of your life, anything goes. And that's what they say. If you have no goal, any path will take you there. And that's why when your friends come and tell you, let's go to Mombasa, you'll go. Because there's no long-term goal you're working towards. It's very important to have a goal. And it's more crucial, especially even now with COVID, to understand what your key strengths are, what your career options. If today you're sacked, what will happen? And I know many have even lost their jobs right now. Yeah. This is where now career coaching comes in, because you have to look at the way we strategically plan for organizations is the same way you need to plan for your life. Yeah, and pray over it. Yeah. And I can tell you, by the way, life, you cannot do it without God. So God has to be at the center of it. God has to be your anchor. Yeah. So stagnation is a key trigger for mental health, depression, because you're wondering, how come I'm not moving? But the reason why you're not moving is, number one, you're not demonstrating the behaviors that suggest that you need to be moved up. Yeah. Number two, you're not acquiring the skills that you require to move up. Yeah. And the mindset that you're carrying into the workplace does not suggest that you're ready for those promotions. So guys, it's a cocktail. It's a cocktail of activities. And those are the things. And they say the thing that you do with your discretion time is the things that actually will propel you and will grow you in your career. So I can tell you, I can easily tell who you are by the things that you do in your discretion time. And your discretion time is, we sleep for 8 hours, we work for 8 hours. What do you do with the other 8 hours? That's your discretion time. So the discretion time on a daily basis and over the weekend, those are the things that will define how far you go with your career. Then there's alcohol and substance use, which is normally used as a coping mechanism. So you see, if you control the self factors, I can tell you half of the mental issues will be solved. Because the majority of it is actually within our own control. The external factors are fewer than the factors that you can control yourself. Yeah, and it's all about you taking charge of your life. Yeah, you owning your career. Yeah. And then we have external factors which can happen, which is prolonged illness. Yeah, sometimes you can get sick. Illness is also not a very good thing. So it can also lead to depression and mental issues. So if you're constantly away, if you're not being able to deliver in your role, you start feeling depressed. Yes, so that is understandable. And if you have an enabling work environment and proactive HR practitioners in your organization, they should be able to understand and support you through that process. Bereavement and loss is also another that will affect you. So anytime we go through any trauma, it will affect your mind. Yeah. And by the way, even, sorry, one I didn't put here is loss of relationships, divorce. Yeah. Your first heartbreak. Those are also mental, they are also triggers for mental issues. So I would suggest, if you're going through all these issues, even with your relationships, and they're affecting you and how they're affecting your workplace, how you're delivering, ensure that you speak to your boss. Yeah. Because I can tell you, remember I told you I had a bad boss for 3 years, and I persevered, and anyway, the lady left. And after many years, the lady called me and told me she was going through a divorce. So you see, even your bosses are human beings, so they can still be going through problems. And that's how they will treat people badly. So the thing is, if you are open with your boss, they can be able to see how to support you. If our boss at that point was open enough to tell us, you know what, I'm going through a tough time personally, we would have given her more grace. Yeah. Yeah. So the thing is, when you see people acting abnormally, just know that there's something that they are struggling with. The other key trigger to poor mental health is for you to also be aware of your personality and your temperament. Yeah, I'm sure we all know this. Yeah, majority of us, especially if you've been working for a while, you know about the 4 personality types. Yeah, the cholerics, who are the more driven type, the leaders. They tend to be the leaders. They push for results. Yeah, sanguines. These are the happy-go-lucky. They're the life of the party. They are always very exciting to be around. The phlegmatics. These are the more sensitive ones. They are very moody, unfortunately, but they are more feelers. They are the ones who operate more with their feelings. And then melancholies. These are the thinkers. They're the perfectionists. They really try to stress out around the details. So with each of our personality types, we have strengths and we have weaknesses. It is important for you to understand what are your weaknesses, yeah, in terms of your personality type. And with our personalities, we are not just one. So we normally have a dominant and a supporting trait. Yeah. So you need to understand what is your dominant trait and what is your supporting trait, and know these weaknesses. Yeah. So, like for example, cholerics, they are leaders, they deliver, they're ambitious, they are driven, they are planners, they are go-getters, they delegate, they deliver. But the problem is they can do it at whatever cost. So these are the people who can leave dead bodies along the way. Yeah. They can be rough with people, they are cut. Yeah. They are seen to be tactless sometimes, depending on the situation. So, like for me, I'm a choleric experience. If you are unable to process that issue, what happens is sometimes you will find that you will stagnate in anything around decisions that relate to that thing that traumatized you. You will tend to run away from making that kind of decision. Yeah, so I'll give you a simplistic example. If you had a very traumatic first relationship, yeah, and somebody hurt you deeply, you will find you will always tend to run away from relationships again. Yeah, then you'll find you have commitment issues. So you'll find you're sabotaging your own relationships because you tended to. What happened comes in to help you process, or a coach to help you process what happened, so that now you demystify the things that you now put registered in your mind, where you said all men are. You cannot trust all men. That's the point you need to start processing and asking yourself, is it true? No. So that now you demystify that negative thing that you put in your mind, so that now you're able to continue the life. Yeah. So guys, it's not a bad thing to see a counselor, and that it is important. The way you take care of your body, you go to the gym, or when you go to get sick, you go to the doctor. You need a shrink. Yeah. because your mental state determines how productive you are. Lower work productivity. So you'll find if you are bothering you mentally, you will not be productive. You will not concentrate. Absenteeism will increase. Actually, the long-term effect on your health will be seen. Yeah, because you will, with lack of sleep, with the lack of just mental peace, you will losing weight. Yeah, you'll start seeing people just always constantly lost in their own thoughts. Yeah, those in the long run, your health will deteriorate. You will damage your career. Yeah, but stop being reliable in the workplace. Yeah, careers are built out through reliability, through integrity, through delivery. Yeah, every time you're given a task, you deliver over and above. That's what builds careers. But if you're distracted, constantly distracted, yeah, then you will not be able to focus. And guys, it is okay. I'll tell you, trauma is part of life. Just the same way happiness is part of life. Going through those tough seasons is part of life. Yeah, and there's no human being, man, who has not gone through it. And if you've not, it will come. So the thing is, how do you deal with it? Yeah, and then also there are economic consequences, because you're going to end up losing a livelihood. If people rely on you, then they stop giving you jobs, they stop giving you opportunities. Yeah, so just know that it's part of life and just handle it. Yeah, and even now for organizations, more and more of them are seeing it is important for us to now focus on mental illness, because it happens to anyone and everyone, from the leaders to the lowest level in the organization. Yeah, because it makes good business sense for us to focus on it. And I remember, like, the last maybe 10, 15 years, we started having online counseling services, anonymous, where you can call. I don't need to know you have called. You get treated, you and your family. And even when the bills come to the office, I don't want to know who it is. So it is a coded name. Yeah, the invoices come coded so that your identity is protected, so that you're able to feel comfortable to go take on. So more and more employers are seeing it is important for us to now focus on this. And I can tell you, we've struggled. I struggled with many employees, yeah, with sick-offs, with turnover, where employees keep changing jobs, yeah, or even where you just give up because the work has become hard. No, you don't give up. You keep doing it until you get it, yeah. So what are the possible interventions? So I've talked about it, the anonymous telephone counseling services, which now is operational in many organizations. Anonymous medical records, so that now your identity is protected. You can go for your care. Affordable treatment. Now counselors are even now more available. There's a lot of focus there now, so more and more people have gotten qualifications around that area. Yeah, so get a counselor, get a coach. You need, if you're stagnated in your career, there are many people able to help you. Yeah, so it's now affordable. Those services are now available. Coaching has become also a big career path. So you can get people to assist in your career where you feel stuck. You have to get greater self-awareness, invest in yourself, yeah, understand your personality type, your empathy, yeah. Please, guys, if you want to remember one thing, the platinum rule: treat people the way you would like to be treated, yeah. Become easier, and don't just be a good human being, relate well with others, yeah. And then the other thing for organizations is to build also enabling work culture and policies. And by the way, culture is actually just the bosses, but also by the employees. So even for you, wherever you are, as you're doing your job, you portray the right, and you will influence others to emulate those good practices. And then you will find the culture, you're changing the culture wherever you are. Yeah. Then there's open door policy in many organizations, and also should be there to also assist in helping the work culture, because especially like bully bosses, sexual harassment, those should be supported with policies enabling work environment. But a lot of the interventions is around you and what you can do. So this is where I will stop and I can take on any questions.
Wow, wow, Pauline. You broke it down. Amazing. A key thing that I've taken through your session is mental health is our key responsibilities. It doesn't matter if it's in your careers, if it's in your business, it is. And again, you also need to know your work personality. Are you a sanguine? Are you a choleric, whatever it is, you also need to know work personality. I'm seeing a couple of comments and questions coming in. So because of I kindly ask you to just stay behind and be able to just answer a couple of more questions here. I'm seeing Lillian, if I'm not wrong, Lillian asking, can one personality type?
No. No, that's how you're wired. And there's no good or bad personality. The thing is, just work with what you've been given. So self-awareness is what is most critical.
Yes, perfect. Okay, thank you so much, Pauline. I'm seeing appreciations coming through. Isabella is saying, great presentation. I am seeing basically people saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. Kingsley Maina says, Pauline has said almost everything HR related. Wow, 25 years enyewe, sikidogo. Abigail says, thank you, Pauline, great presentation, much appreciated. I'll kindly ask you to just stay here and just go to answer a couple of questions from here. I'm seeing a comment coming through from Facebook. That is from someone from Thika. She says, Grace Wanjiku says, watching from Thika Town, good information, so timely. Thank you so much, Pauline. I'd like to invite someone else. He's called Andrew Opere. So he is Centonomy Career Hub alumni who's been able to just do the Centonomy Career Hub program. As Pauline has mentioned, you need to start developing a culture of doing development programs for yourself and come in as Centonomy, because we have the Centonomy Career Hub program that helps you reposition and repackage yourself for career growth. So I know Andrew is in the room. Andrew, if you can just unmute yourself and also start your video and probably just share your testimony, or rather your experience of the Centonomy Career Hub program for those who might be interested in doing it. Andrew? Oh, great. Go ahead, Andrew. Okay, let me unmute you. Go ahead.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Andrew.
Yes, wonderful. My name is Andrew Balongo Perry. I'm a creative. I do graphic design, photography, video, and I'm also interested in communications. And I just have a passion for people. And what got me on my journey with experiencing Centonomy was I'd gotten back to school after being in career for a while. I'd gotten laid off, and I didn't understand why I'd gotten laid off, and I was just trying to figure out what was going on. And when I went back to school, I started noticing a lot of the lecturers were industry veterans. And, you know, they would wear their credentials on their sleeves. They'd say, you know, I've worked for World Bank. And a lot of the curriculum content was foreign-based, African case studies. Where are your Kenyan case studies? With the best. And they would tell me, oh, you're right, boy. And they would just leave it at that. And this would be both the male and female lecturers. So I noticed there was a gap between what's expected of the learners in the marketplace. So I'm not surprised when I'm hearing, HR professionals or people saying that the graduates were half-baked. I saw it literally that the industry veterans are not sharing their knowledge. So I happened to get involved with how I got involved, but I just wanted to get answers. So I was asking questions, and I noticed the psychologists were giving me information that was not biased. It wasn't from opinion, but my mind works. And I did the Career Hub, and it was so groundbreaking because number one, it was run by industry professionals. I like the model where it's not theory. The industry professionals who are at the top of their game come and give you the information of what is going on in the field. For example, if I can remember, yes, some of the modules from the Career Hub is moves. And what that taught me was life. And the number one thing that stood out to me was some of the myths that were covered was no one owes me anything. So module focus on your strengths. And that really hit me because what I also about Centonomy, what they've done, it's a group class their thoughts. So you get to see different people share. And I remember one story a lady shared of how she's a people person, she was working in banking, but she was working in the back office because she was scared of being in the front office. And these are her actual words. She's like, it's down and I'm in the office, but when I talk to people, I feel enlightened. And as someone is sharing their process, you can see, oh my God, that's me. And it's obvious from what you're sharing, she needed to be in front office. And her own admission was because of the pressure, sales, and what have you, she didn't want to go to the front office. But because she wasn't honoring her personality and her strengths, that's why she was underperforming. And in fact, it's funny, I think Pauline mentioned this, if you're qualified for a role, that's when you have conflict. And yes, and social capital, and those two really hit me hard, to stop being, to stop thinking that people owe me something. It really taught me that I have to cultivate relationships. I can't guarantee that just because you know me, Wendy, or just because so-and-so knows me, they're going to give me an opportunity. No, I have to cultivate relationships on purpose. Find out how people are doing, not just say, here's my business. No, it doesn't. Then the last two sections were two parts were so humbling because as we're listening to the mindset that's going on with the students, we're reflecting the mindset of the society. And these industry professionals have gotten tangible results. And it's not about working hard. It's about applying principles, especially relationships. Like in advanced career planning, I learned that 80% of jobs are not advertised. They're gotten through your social networks. So if you're not cultivating your relationships in your life, then how else will you be of value to yourself and to others? There are people that know your skills, or rather the people that do not know their business, but you're not telling them. They have no idea what you do. So just the fact that they were sharing all this and how all this ties into leadership, always serving others, cultivating relationships, it really gave me a language to realize that Centonomy might not realize it, but you're actually actively involved in mental health. Because mental health, what is it? In my opinion, it's how we cultivate how we think, how we feel, and how we act. We need to have those three balanced. Out of balance, then you see we talk about all these things that we're experiencing, whether it's the depression or what have you. And if you can see what happens, this is my definition of it. It's when your internal capacity cannot handle the external capacity of whatever is happening to you, the external circumstance. So I'm not surprised why we go to school, so that we can level up our internal strength to match whatever is happening. So just to summarize this whole experience, it has made me more competent. I've stopped catching feelings when people tell me no. it just means to me that probably what I have to offer is not what they want at that time. Maybe it might not be right. It might be not right now. So it has helped me clarify a lot of things about myself, my weaknesses, what I need to work on, not putting myself in areas that enhance my weaknesses, but highlight my strengths, reach out to people. It's okay to say no. It's okay to have bad days. It's okay to meet people who you will, you'll have conflicts with. Conflicts are inevitable, but it's not to immediately blow up. Just like Pauline said, with her situation with the boss, your boss could be going through something. Your client could be going through something. It's not about you. But also, what I appreciate is this whole experience of Career Hub and what Centonomy is doing. Centonomy might be thinking they're teaching money or about career, but they're actually teaching human beings how to learn with one another, how to learn what you've learned so far from your parents, what's working for you, what's not working for you, and how each week you can build the skills that you need to be where you want to be. I know all this can be overwhelming. We are told you're underperforming, you're not going to be a result to anything, but I liken Centonomy to be like the training these marathon runners do. It's more like a coaching environment. You're getting feedback and perspectives from different people, what's working, what's not working. So you really see, you have no reason to beat yourself. Centonomy is a place that helps you level up what you need in terms of your money. Is there any class we've taken from primary, high school, college about how to manage money? No. For me, Centonomy needs to be actually in the curriculum for any country. So if you're listening to this right now, please take it for the betterment of yourself. Whether you're male or female does not matter. Once you're competent with your money, you can now get, you can choose the kind of life you want to be on purpose, deliberate. You know how you want to live, then you know how to save the kind of money that you need. You know how to talk to people that maybe might have the resources you need. You know how to build those relationships on purpose. And even when you're down, you have those relationships that people support you in when you're down. You have people in your corner. So Centonomy demystifies all these secrets high-level professionals don't share with you. They just tell you, yeah, work hard, invest your time, but they never really tell you how to do this day in, day out. And I've done my best to give you all the tips and all the learning that I've done as a courtesy of Centonomy. Thank you, Centonomy, for what you're doing. Keep on doing what you're doing, Wendy and the team. I honor what you guys are doing and leveling up the lives and hearts and souls of Kenyans and Africans and citizens all over the world. I'm honored. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for that amazing testimonials. Everyone, as Andrew has mentioned, the Centonomy Career Hub program is basically helping you create wealth using your careers. And as mentioned, the modules, as you can see on the screen, which is making boss moves. So how do you differentiate yourself from being a soldier and a general? How to know your strengths. Today, we've talked so much about knowing your personality, knowing your weaknesses, knowing your strengths. And the Centonomy Career Hub program will help you know how to maximize on your strengths so that you're able to stand out at your workplace. Also, as Andrew has mentioned, there's a little bit of personal branding. So what does your employer say about you when you leave the room? How do you create a brand that is able to be headhunted? We also talk about social capital, because we believe the next job that you're looking for, it's not by you sending a CV, it's by you, it's by the networks that you've been able to build. So your network is your network. So we'll help you learn how you can be able to just build your social capital. There's also advanced career planning. So where are you seeing yourself, let's say in the next 5-6 years from now? How do you plan for that? Authentic leadership, because we believe by the end of this whole process, you'll be a leader one way or another. So how do you become an authentic leader? And lastly, we have effective communication skills. So here we're talking about presentation skills. We are talking about negotiation skills, how you're able to communicate with your colleagues, with your boss at work. So the Centonomy Career Hub program basically helps you create wealth using your career. So the class is actually starting on the 8th of October, which is in 3 weeks' time. And Centonomy just wants to say thank you so much for being here this morning. And I'm so sorry that we have gone past time. So we would like to give everyone a discount on the registration. So you can be able to register today at a discount of 1,000 shillings instead of 1,600 shillings. So if you register today, you can be able to get a discount of 1,000 shillings instead of registering at 1,600. So the program is for 6 weeks and attendance is just once a week. You can either choose the Thursday class in the evening or the Saturday class in the morning. That is from 9 to 12 p.m. And as I mentioned, these are the registration options. So if you're in Kenya, you can pay in shillings. If you're outside Kenya, you can actually pay in dollars. So you register at 1,000 shillings or $10, and that is just for today. The tuition fee is usually 19,600, but you can pay in installments of 4,900 per week or 9,800 per month. The payment details are on the screen. That is the M-Pesa payable number, as well as the account number, which will be your first name plus the word career. We are really sorry that we took a little bit more time, but I am so sure you have found this session so insightful. I want to say a big thank you to my amazing speakers who actually availed themselves this beautiful morning. Pauline, Kiraither, Dr.Adeola, and of course, Mwendwa. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, and also thank you guys for joining us today. In case you reach out to us, that is at Wendy at Centonomy, or the number is there. Also, Dr. Adeola has a special gift for everyone who's been able to join us this morning. It's an ebook that we will be sharing on your emails, as well as the slides for the presentation from the different speakers. And as I can see, it is 12:31 East African time. So I would like to say thank you so much for attending, and we've come to the end of the session. And as Dr. Adeola had said, there's no health without mental health. We hope to see you guys in class for the Centonomy Career Hub program. Have a lovely afternoon. Thank you.